Texas. Ms. Escobar for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to express my gratitude, Mr. Chairman, to you and the ranking member for these ongoing conversations and this opportunity for us to provide oversight and for the American people to feel comfort, I hope and I believe, with the information that's being delivered. I'd like to thank our witnesses as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't remark on the incredible change that I've seen happen over the last 3 years since I attended the Munich Security Conference in 2019 versus the Munich Security Conference last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. When I was there in 2019, there was a significant question about the West and whether the West would continue to support NATO, and just the fears about how untethered things seemed. But last week or the week before, whenever it was, sorry, time escapes me, but this year's Munich Security Conference, the incredible unity and the strength demonstrated by our allies and our friends, especially with regard to Ukraine and our defense of democracy. And I'm very proud of the role that the United States has played in rebuilding NATO and ensuring that the West has come together in a way to defend our friends and allies and help stop the Russian aggression. And I'd like to, Dr. Call, just in that vein, because there's been just such a lot of conversation, obviously, about the F-16s and about why the United States and some of our friends are not stepping up as quickly as some would like. My colleague, Representative Houlihan, she was about to ask a question, and I'd like to follow that up because I'm curious as well. But when her question, she started as her time ran out, when should the clock start on those F-16s? You know, you laid out for us very clearly and very effectively, you know, the considerations involved and also the financial implications as well. And that's on Congress, right, to make sure that we provide the continued support and to put our money where our mouth is. But when should that clock start ticking for the F-16s? And is that something you can discuss in this setting?
Look, I think it is, you know, a more modernized Ukrainian Air Force will be important in the medium and long term for Ukraine to continue to defend the territory that it claws back and to deter Russia in the future. So I think there is a medium to long term requirement. The challenge, of course, is even if it was a short term requirement, we couldn't get it to them immediately anyway, and we don't assess that it is the highest short term priority. And by the way, neither do the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians' priorities are air defense systems, so they're integrated air and missile defense systems, artillery and fires, armor and mechanized. And because every dollar you spend on one is a dollar you can't spend on another, there are real trade-offs. Obviously, Ukraine is going to continue having conversations with us. As I said, President Zelensky discussed this with President Biden in Kyiv last week. Zelensky has had similar conversations with our UK and French allies. The UK has announced an interest in starting to do some training, so we'll see where that leads. There are other countries in NATO, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, I think, that have talked about potentially F-16s that they may be offloading as they upgrade to F-35s. So I do think this conversation will continue. As I sit in the Pentagon, and I have to say, what does Ukraine need right now to stay in the fight and turn the tide against the Russians in the first half of this year, which I think is going to be decisive for the conflict? It's just hard for me to tell any member of Congress or the American people that the best use of that dollar spent right now is on F-16s.
Thank you so much, Dr. Call. And I only have a few seconds left, but I am wondering, in terms of the replenishment of U.S. stocks, is the department looking to utilize critical technologies such as additive manufacturing to fill some of those gaps?
Sorry. I think the short answer is yes, but I think it's probably better for us to arrange a briefing by our acquisitions and sustainment folks to really go through the kind of the multi-layered approach that they're taking to this, because they're the real experts on that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Chair, now